Okay, good evening, everyone. So in the last session, we started the EC2 topic, right? And we have discussed about different purchasing models and different tenancy models we have covered. In the different purchasing models, we have three types. One is on-demand, reserved instance, and the spot instances. Those are the three things we have. On-demand is a flexible. At any time, you can create and you can delete it. And based on the usage, you will be charged. In the reserved instance type, you are going to give some commitment like the tenure, either 1 year or 3 years. And then we have to select a payment plan, like a no advance, partial upfront, or full upfront. That will be applicable for both 1 year tenure and 3 years tenure. And we have a spot instances where you will get some kind of a temporary instances. There is no guarantee for the uptime of your EC2 instances. At any time, the spot instances can be deleted once your bid price is less than the Amazon's price. And then we have a tenancy model. We have three types: shared tenancy, dedicated, and dedicated, host, not instance. Dedicated host. And whatever we discussed, that is the correct one. The explanation is correct. But the term is not instance, there's a host. I think already I have used the term called host is nothing but a physical server, right? Okay, I think there's a typo. So shared tenancy means your EC2 instances will be shared with the hardware. Like multiple customers can use the same physical hardware for their EC2 instances. Whereas the dedicated means the dedicated hardware will be allocated to you. So on the single hardware, all your EC2 instances can be created. Whereas the dedicated host, a physical server will be allocated to you. So where you can get full control of that particular physical server. Apart from these two categories, we have another category called instance family. What is this instance family is? Based on our requirement, like based on like what type of application we are going to use that EC2 instance, Amazon is providing you different types of instance families, because each and every family will provide you a different types of characteristics. First, let me list out the different types of instance family, and then we can discuss about each and every family in detail. The first one is general purpose. First one is the general purpose, and the second one is so the second one is compute optimized. And the third one is accelerated compute. Fourth one is a memory optimized. And the fifth one is a storage optimized. These are the five different types of these are the five different instance families available on AWS platform. Each and every family will provide you the different types of characteristics. Like let us say you are using one type of application. Then one family is recommended to run your application. Let us say you are using a different type of a tool. For that, you have to choose one type of instance family. So first one is the general purpose instance family. So coming to this general purpose family will provide the balanced resources CPU, RAM, and networking. What is the meaning of a balanced resources? All the resources will be available in an equal proportion. Like you don't get like one CPU and 32 GB of RAM. That is not a balanced way, right? So in the general purpose, all the resources will be provided to you in a balanced way. So generally, these general purpose instance families are recommended for regular applications like a websites or a web applications. For all type of applications, this general purpose family is recommended. Almost for all requirements, all kind of web applications or websites, general purpose is recommended because you will get every resource in a balanced way. So I will tell you like how to identify that instance belongs to general purpose or a compute optimized or accelerated computing. Later, I will show you a simple table. Based on that, easily you can identify like the instance belongs to which family. But whenever you go for the real time, we don't care about that. Only if you are using some kind of high-end applications or some kind of machine learning, only in those cases, we'll go for some specific type of applications that I will mention you. Almost all the time, we will use only these 4 types of instance families. I will give you the examples, what kind of applications we have to use, which type of instance family. Almost for all the websites and web applications, you have to use general purpose. And then coming to the compute optimized. What is the meaning of optimization or optimize? What is the meaning of optimize? Like kind of improvement, right? Optimization means kind of improvement. So in this compute optimized family, your instances are optimized for better compute capacity. What is the meaning of a compute in this context? CPU. These compute optimized instances will provide you the better CPU performance. What kind of applications require the better CPU performance? So these compute optimized instances will provide the better CPU performance. Let us say you have an application and it requires more CPU performance than memory and all the things. In that case, we have to go for compute optimized instances. I will give a simple example. Let us say, do you guys know about a Tomcat server? Have you ever heard about that? Tomcat. That will be used to run some kind of a Java applications. Whenever you use a Tomcat server that requires more CPU, they will run with less memory, but it requires more CPU, more number of cores. Generally, if you go for the general purpose, and if you are looking for 8 CPU or 8 core, you have to go for minimum like 64 GB of RAM. But your application doesn't require that much memory. Like 32 GB is enough. If I go for general purpose family, for 8 CPU is my requirement. According to that requirement, I have to select 64 GB of RAM, where I'm going to waste a lot of memory. So in that case, if I go for the compute optimized family, I will get more CPU with minimum memory required. So no need to pay any extra amount for unutilized memory. So the best example is, let us say the Tomcat server requires huge CPU power than the memory. In this case, always it is recommended to go for compute optimized instances. In this case, always it is recommended to go for compute optimized instances. The use case can be the applications which require more compute power. In that kind of a situations, we have to use the compute optimized family. If you ask me like use case to deploy the applications which require more CPU power, this compute optimized family is recommended. So by seeing the name itself, easily we can identify it. Whenever it shows compute optimized, it will give you more compute power, more CPU. General purpose is like a regular type of instance family. which will provide you all the resources in a balanced way. And what is the third one? Accelerated computing. What is the meaning of accelerated computing? In the compute optimized, you will get more CPU, right? More compute capacity. In this accelerated computing, it will gives you what we call that very high compute capacity. Can you give some examples of some examples for the applications which require huge processing power? I said like Tomcat application requires some high CPU. More than that, do you guys know any application which requires more CPU than that what the compute optimized instances provide? Okay, so I think everybody knows about graphic cards, right? What is the use of a graphic card? Generally, in what kind of scenarios you guys will use the graphic card? Generally, to play the games. Why? Why we need a graphic card to play the games? Because your normal computer cannot handle that much processing capacity. So that's why we use the games. So accelerated computing instances will comes with graphic cards, like we call it as GPU, graphical processing unit. GPUs are more powerful than the CPUs. So why we need the GPUs in the servers? Generally, we don't play any games in the servers, right? Why do we need the GPUs in the servers? There must be some applications which requires a GPU, right? That means those applications cannot run on a normal CPU. Can you give some examples? Any kind of an example? Or do you guys know, okay, if I would like to use this application or this software, it requires a more CPU which cannot be handled by a normal computer. Apart from the games, do you guys know any software or any application which requires a graphic cards? Okay, so what about this? A video editing softwares. Let us say 3D video rendering, not like video editing. That's called as a video rendering, like animation, right? And machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science. All these kind of application requires very high compute capacity, which cannot be provided by a normal CPU. If you are planning to host any application in that kind of a category, definitely you have to go for accelerated computing. This family will provide GPU. It will provide GPU in the instances which provide very high compute power. Very high compute power. And in the olden days, this is called as GPU optimized. But later, they renamed it as accelerated computing. The best use case for this is (3D) editing softwares, animation, or machine learning, artificial intelligence, or neural networks, data science. For all these kind of applications, it requires very high compute capacity, which can be provided by the graphical processing unit. If you have a such requirement, then you have to opt in for accelerated computing only, because the other normal regular instance families doesn't provide you that much compute capacity. And the next one is memory optimized. What might be this memory optimized? Based on the previous explanation, what this memory optimized instance family will provide? Maybe it will provide you the high memory performance, right? Yes. So do you know any applications or any softwares which are based on memory oriented, like which requires the best memory performance and all the things? Especially the databases. Whenever we talk about the database, they don't require high CPU. They requires more memory than the CPU, because all the transactions will be processed in the memory. Let us say if you take the example of online store, Amazon online store, every second they do have like thousands of transactions. All the transactions to be stored into the database. So all these things will be in a queue in the memory. So to process all the transactions without fail, always the databases require very high memory. They can run with a normal CPU or a medium CPU, but they require high memory. Based on the memory, they will provide you the better performance. It can be a read or write or any kind of a thing. So in this memory optimized, in this kind of instance family, they will provide the better memory performance. What is the meaning of better memory performance? Let us say if you go for the general purpose, there is one general purpose instance with 8 GB RAM and memory optimized instance with 8 GB RAM. Definitely you will get more performance in the memory optimized instances. Do you guys know about the tweaking of the things? Like if you have a CPU, right? So in your laptop, by installing some tools, you can improve the speed of the CPU. But that might, what we call that might damage your CPU over a longer period. But definitely the performance will be increased by like 20 to 30%. That kind of things will be done in these kind of optimizations. They will push the performance of the memory to the maximum level, whatever they can provide. But they don't tweak or they don't optimize like beyond the limit after which that memories will be damaged. They will optimize up to the maximum what it can provide without any damages. In general, whatever the CPUs we are using, maximum we can use a 60% of the capacity only. They were designed in that way only. But by installing some tools, you can increase that, but there is a high problem that the CPU might get damaged at any time. Even if you're utilizing the 100% of the capacity, after some time, they will provide very high amount of heat. Because of that, the CPUs might get burned. Okay, so here they will optimize to give you the better performance with less memory. So here the use case is these instances are recommended for databases or in-memory applications. There are some applications which are called as in-memory applications. For those applications, this memory optimized instance family is recommended. And finally, we have a storage optimized. These storage optimized instances will provide the better storage performance. Will provide the better storage performance. What is the meaning of better storage performance? In terms of IOPS or in terms of throughput. But what is this? What is that IOPS means? Do you guys know what is that IOPS? IOPS, input and output operations per second. Let us say you are using the database, and in the previous example, per second there are 1,000 purchases are happening on the Amazon. That means 1,000 records to be stored in the database, right? That means the data will be stored in the backend hard disk. If the hard disk is not supported to support those many transactions per second, then there will be some delay in the data to be written to the database. So you don't get the better performance. So in such kind of applications, in such kind of requirements, we are going to use the storage optimized instances. So IOPS stands for input and output operations per second. Let me write down that also. Input and output operations per second. Then what is the throughput? IOPS is like how fast you can read and write to the database. Then what is the throughput? Throughput will be measured in MB per second. What might be this MB per second? Let us say if you connect some pen drive to your laptop and if you're trying to copy the data, what will happen? The data will be copied with some speed, right? 10 MB per second, 20 MB per second and all the things. If your hard disk is a regular hard disk, which is not giving you more than 10 MB per second, then to copy the 1 GB data, it will take a lot of time. But if your hard disk can support like 50 Mbps or 60 Mbps, then you can reduce the time by 5 times. Because it can copy the data with 5 faster, like 10 MB and 50 MB. So these storage optimized instances are designed to provide you the better storage performance. Then what is the use case is, if use cases are, let us say you are planning to host some kind of a file server. What is the file server? Do you guys know what is a file server? A kind of a file share. So you can store all the data over there, and multiple people can log in and they can copy the data, they can read, they can download, they can upload, and all the things. Like the best example is the Google Drive or Dropbox. These are all some kind of file sharing services, right? So you can store the data there and thousands of people can access the data at a time. So it requires high data read and write operations per second, high data transfer speeds. Whenever they are downloading the data to be downloaded quickly to their computers. So it must support high throughput. And whenever they are uploading some data, once the data got uploaded to the cloud, that has to be written into the database. In that case, this IOPS will be useful. So these storage optimized instances are used for the applications which require high IOPS and high throughput. The best use case is for file servers or file sharing services. Very occasionally, we will use these storage optimized instances. But the above 4, regularly, we will use all the 4 types of instance families. So quickly, I will show you the EC2 documentation page where you can easily identify like which type of instance belongs to general purpose and all the things. So you can see the first one is the general purpose. So here you can see the general purpose. If any instance type starts with T3 or T3A, T2, with these names, that is called as general purpose instance family. And one more thing, whenever you create any instance, while you're creating the instance, you have to select instance type. There is one concept called instance type. What is this instance type is? Based on the instance type, you will get the instance family and the resources. Instance family will provide the instance family and the number of resources for your EC2 instance. The example is T2.micro or T3.large or T2.2x large. These are the examples for instance type. What exactly it will indicate is this T2, this indicates the family, or T, actually the T indicates the family. In these examples, the T indicates the instance family. So T always belongs to general purpose. And what about the 2 indicates? The version. Like T1, that is a very old version. T2 in the general purpose, somewhat latest version. And T3 is the recent version. I guess T4 is also there. T2, older version. T3, somewhat older. T4 is the latest version. In the T series, 2, 3, 4 indicates the version. And what about that micro? What about that micro? Number of resources. Sorry. Micro indicates the number of resources. In this micro, you will get 1 CPU, 1 GB of RAM, and a low to moderate network performance. This is what micro provides you. If you go for large, I guess that might provide you 4 CPU and 8 GB of RAM. 2x large, that will give you more resources. Those are like a kind of a predefined templates. According to your requirement, you have to select either micro, large, 2x large. There is a small also. and 5x large is there. I will show you the list of all the instance types, and we can observe how many resources you will get in each and every type of the instance. If it shows like M3 or M5, M3.micro or M3.large, that M belongs to a different family. So here you can see M6G, right? This M6G also belongs to the general purpose. And you can see here instance size. Medium will give you 1 CPU and 4 GB of RAM. And network bandwidth will give you up to 10 Gbps. Whereas if I go for T3.micro, this is the one I told you, right? T3.micro will give you 2 CPU and 1 GB of RAM. T3.micro will give you 2 CPU and 1 GB of RAM. Network performance will be up to 5 Gbps. And if I go for something else like compute optimized, in the compute optimized, if you go for medium, you will get 1 CPU and 2 GB of RAM. And here you will get 16 CPU and 32 GB of RAM. So here always you will get more CPU. If you go for the general purpose, for 16 CPU, you will get almost like 64 GB of RAM. So according to the requirement, you have to select your requirements. If I go for accelerated, so P4, P3, P2, all these things belongs to the accelerated computing. And these are well recommended for the machine learning, because there is something called TensorFlow, which can be used by the machine learning. So these CPUs or these GPUs are supported with that particular TensorFlow categories. You can see that you will get up to 8 NVIDIA A100 TensorFlow compatible GPUs. That depends again, like they are going to provide you 400 Gbps internet instance networking with the fast Ethernet support. And if I go for storage optimized, so in this storage optimized, you will get the better storage disks. Instead of a normal hard disk and a normal SSD, you will get a Nitro SSDs, which will give you the better performance than any other hard disk. I think we might know about the normal magnetic hard drive and SSDs, right? And now we have some NVMe SSDs and everything, which will give you the better performance in terms of storage options. So depending on the instance family, you will get the better performance, like based on the memory optimized, you will get the best memory. If you go for accelerated, you will get the better GPUs. If you go for compute optimized, you will get the better compute capacity. These are the 3 different categories we have. Like first one is the purchasing model, and the second one is the tenancy model, and the third one is instance family and instance type. And still we are not ready to create our first EC2 instance, because we have to learn about some terminology used in EC2 concept. Just we don't discuss everything, just we discuss about the basic terminology which is required to create our first EC2 instance. First EC2 instance. So the very first one is Amazon machine image. Amazon machine image, which is called as AMI. What might be this one? What might be this Amazon machine image? Okay, so let us say here you purchase one new laptop or like a new desktop. So you got with some kind of 1 CPU and 1 GB of a RAM, and you got with 100 GB of a storage. This is what you will get, right? So immediately what this server requires, this computer requires an operating system, right? We need to install the operating system. Without installing the operating system, we cannot use that server. So in the Amazon don't know what operating system you are looking for. So while you are creating the EC2 instance, you have to select which operating system you are looking for, like Windows or a Linux. And in the Windows, there are different versions available. In the Linux also, we have a different versions. Is that sufficient, or do we need to install something else on your server? Obviously, you might require some applications also, right? Something called MS Office or some kind of WinZip or a WinRAR. There are some different tools also. So how Amazon will provide you this operating system? Once we create the EC2 instance in the cloud, do we need to install the operating system manually? No, we don't install the operating system manually. We have to select which operating system we need, so that Amazon will install that operating system and the softwares also. If you select, I need these softwares, those applications or softwares will be automatically installed in your EC2 instance at the time of a creation. How that will be installed is using this Amazon machine image. So what is this Amazon machine image is? This AMI is a kind of a template. AMI is an image or template, both are same, which contains the operating system and optional softwares or applications. Optional softwares or applications. Okay, so in the previous example, you purchased one computer from the market. So now you are planning to install a Windows 7 operating system, just for an example. How can we install? How can we install that operating system? We need to download that operating system from the internet, right? From the official site, we have to download that particular operating system image, right? Microsoft will provide you that operating system as a ISO image that we have to burn into CD, DVD, or any media, and then you can install. That means that image contains all the operating system related files and the configuration part. So here, this AMI contains the operating system and optional applications or optional softwares and the configuration also. What kind of configuration? Every operating system requires some kind of a configuration, right? Like what we call that firewall to be turned off or turn on, or like what is the storage, what we call that? You have attached a 100 GB hard disk. Is it to be created with a one drive or two drives, or some kind of a security options? All these things we have to configure manually. That default configuration will be automatically mentioned in the Amazon machine image, so that once you create your EC2 instance, operating system will be installed automatically. And if you select any applications, those applications will be installed and the configuration will be done automatically. So directly you can use that machine by logging in. So then the next one is, so here we created one machine, right? This computer is available in AWS, right? This is the AWS cloud. From where we can access this computer? Like from anywhere across the globe according to the requirement. Let us say you are trying to log into that machine from your house. How you can communicate? How you can communicate with this particular computer? We have to log in using the remote login method. But how you are able to communicate with that? Let us say if you would like to send an email to me, so you need my email address. Or if I would like to make a call to you, I need your mobile number or something. In the same way, how can I establish the connection with this particular server? It requires some kind of address, right? That is called as IP address. In the network, every communication is possible with the help of an IP address only. But in that IP address, there are two types of categories available. We can say two types of IP address available. I'm not talking about the versions, just I'm talking about the types. IP address. So IP address is used to establish the communication over the network. And there are two types of IP addresses available. One is a private IP address and the second one is a public IP address. These two are the general terms available anywhere. Private IP address, this private IP address is only used to communicate within the same network. Let us say this building is one network. If I have like 10 computers in this building, I can use the private IP address to design the network, and all the 10 computers are able to communicate with each other with the help of a private IP. And then we have a concept of a public IP address. Public IP address is used to communicate with any machine across multiple networks. Or in a simple terms, we can say that the public IP address is used to communicate over the internet. If you are accessing the internet means you have a public IP address. What is that internet? What that ISP will do? They will allocate you one public IP address. With the help of that public IP address, we are able to communicate with the internet, like we are able to browse the internet. Okay. Public IP address is used to communicate across multiple networks. Like my home is one network, AWS is one more network, Microsoft is another network, right? We can use this public IP from anywhere across the globe. And especially in the Amazon, this public IP address, whenever we use a term called public IP, that is a dynamic public IP. What is the meaning of a dynamic? Dynamic is like exact opposite to static, like a fixed one. So here, if you assign the public IP address to your EC2 instance, there is a chance that that IP address will get changed over a period of time. Let us say today I created one EC2 instance. On that I hosted my website. Everybody can access my website using the IP address. That is actually has to happen. But we are accessing with the name and everything. That's a different concept. Everybody can access your website with the IP address. Let us say after a few days, because of some reason, the public IP got changed. What will happen? Nobody can access your website because they know your old IP address. So you have to publish or you have to update that my IP address got changed and please use the new IP address to access the website, right? So here on Amazon, the public IP address is dynamic public IP. What if I need a fixed public IP address? For that reason, Amazon is providing you an IP address called elastic IP address. Elastic IP address is a fixed public IP, address for instances. It's a fixed public IP address. Even you delete your EC2 instance also, that IP address will be available in your account. Now, is that elastic IP address is a free, or Amazon is going to charge some amount for all these private, public and elastic IPs? Amazon will never charge. Public IP and private IPs are free, and elastic IP address is also free based on some conditions. There are some conditions that you can get the elastic IP address for free. By default, in your account, you don't get any IP address. By default, you don't get any elastic IP address. In this elastic IP, there are three terms. One is associate, and the second one is disassociate, and the third one is a release. There are three actions available on elastic IP address. Associate means if you click on associate, AWS will allocate one elastic IP address. Sorry, wait. I missed one more term. Actually, there are four terms. Allocate. Allocate means AWS will allocate one elastic IP address. Then associate means we can attach the elastic IP address to EC2 instance. Associate means we are attaching that elastic IP address to our EC2 instance. Then what is the disassociate? What is the disassociate means? Removing the elastic IP address from EC2 instance. Release means giving back to AWS. Giving back the elastic IP address to AWS. Now, in these 4 cases, when we will be charged? Elastic IP address are a kind of a free. When it is free is the elastic IP addresses are free if the elastic IP addresses are being associated with any EC2 instance. Elastic IP addresses are available at free of cost if they are associated to any instance. Then when we will be charged? If the elastic IP address is not associated, and if the elastic IP addresses are kept idle in your account, then you will be charged. If the elastic IP address kept idle in AWS account without association, then after first 1 hour, EIPs are chargeable. That means even the first hour it is a free. If you don't associate also, the first hour the elastic IPs are free. You will not be charged. Because instantly we cannot associate, right? Once you got the elastic IP from Amazon, you need to decide like to which EC2 instance to attach, or you might have to create the new EC2 instance or something. That's why they will give you 1 hour time. So for the first 1 hour, even if you don't associate, you will not be charged. So can I get 1000 elastic IP addresses? Or can I get 10,000 elastic IP addresses? Or is there any limit? There is a limit. By default, we can get 5 elastic IP address per region, which is a soft limit. What is the meaning of a soft limit? What is the meaning of a soft limit? Soft limit is the limit which can be increased by creating a support ticket with the Amazon support team. By default, without any restriction, you can use 5 elastic IP addresses. There is no doubt in that. Let us say you require more than 5. So you have to create a support ticket, and that is called as service limit increase ticket. By creating the ticket, you can increase the number of elastic IP addresses from 5 to your required number. You can increase to 10, 20, 30. That depends on your requirement. So you have to fill out a form that what is the requirement to get 10 IPs or 20 IPs. Based on your explanation, Amazon will allocate you as many elastic IP addresses as you need. So typically, if you are using that elastic IP addresses as per the requirement, you will not be charged for using the elastic IP address. If you get like 5 elastic IPs, and if you keep that elastic IP addresses without associating, then you will be charged after first 1 hour. After that, for every hour, you will be charged for having that elastic IP address in your account. Once you are done with the work, then you have to release that elastic IP address from your Amazon account. Release like giving back the elastic IP address to Amazon, AWS. And then as of now, we have seen like EC2 instance creation, and in that operating system will be installed, right? Then what is the username and password? Every operating system will get a username and password, right? So we can say for Windows machines, the default username will be administrator. But what about the password? So here, Amazon will use a concept called a key pair. Amazon will use a concept called key pair. What is that key pair is? The key pair is an encryption key, we can say, which contains a public and private key. Key pair is the combination of public and private key. Is the combination of public and private key, which can be used to encrypt and decrypt the data. What is the meaning of encryption? What is the meaning of encryption? Converting the data into different format so that nobody can understand what is that particular word or statement. Let us say here, I would like to send you some number called 10. If I send you the 10, if someone see the digit, they can understand that, okay, the value of that is a 10. What I do is, before sending you that value of 10, I will add some random number. But nobody knows that which number I added. I will send you like 14. So if someone see the data, they can see, okay, the value is 14, but that is not the actual value, right? Because I added some data by using some kind of algorithm. So I know that I added the value 4 before sending. And the same thing I will update to the receiver. So what the receiver will do? They will decrypt the data, like they will do 14 minus 4. So 10 will be the actual value. That's how the encryption and decryption will be done. But now, what is this key pair? What kind of encryption and decryption will do here? Definitely not for the data. Whenever you create the EC2 instance, the password will be randomly generated by Amazon. Password will be randomly generated, and it will be stored in a secure place, in a secure location by encrypting. So whatever, let's say the password is 1234. Amazon don't store that password as 1234. What they do is they will encrypt the data 1234, and the password will be stored in an encrypted format so that nobody can see the password. So what we have to do, if you would like to log in, we need the username and password, right? So I need to use the key pair. I need to use the key pair to decrypt the password so that the correct password will be visible to myself. If I lose the key pair, I cannot decrypt the password and I cannot see the password. And the key pair will be in the form of .pem. If I say you, like, what is the format of the Word document? What you can say? .docx, text file, .txt. This key pair will be in the format of .pem. That we will see at the time of creation. Okay, right. So after this, what all we have done? We got the operating system. We got like a username and password. We got username and password. And we got the IP address also. Let us say this is the IP address. Now, this user can log into your machine, right? So what they do, they use some kind of a remote login tools. Depending on the operating system, it is a Windows or Linux. So whenever this user is trying to do, here, there is one concept called security group. Security group is a type of a firewall. By default, it will not allow any incoming request. What is the meaning of an incoming request? If I try to log into the computer, that means I will send a request that I would like to log in. If it is a Windows machine, I will send the request on RDP protocol, remote desktop protocol. So by default, what this security group will do is it will not allow any incoming connections. That means it will block, like if you lock your door, nobody can enter, right? So if you open the door, anybody can enter. So here, that different ways. We have to open the security group to allow the RDP protocol. If it is a Linux, you have to use a different protocol. That's a different concept. But no need to worry. Automatically, based on your operating system, this protocol will be selected. But the question is, from where you would like to allow the traffic? Would you like to allow from anywhere across the globe? Or would you like to allow only from your office IP address? Or only from a specific IP address? That you have to select. What is the problem if I allow the transactions, incoming connections from anywhere? Anybody can try to log in, right? They don't have a username and password, but they can try to log in by entering a wrong username and password. So in that case, what we can do is you can restrict that only from my office. the users can log into the Windows server, or only from my home address I can log in, or only from multiple IP address like my head office, branch office, or at home, only from 3 different locations, I would like to allow the people to log in. That is called as source. The security group is a firewall which can allow or deny the traffic which is coming to your EC2 instance. What is the meaning of a firewall? Have you ever heard about firewall? Just that's like a kind of a entrance door of your house. If you lock that, nobody can enter. And if you have like 3 keys of your lock, so if you give the 3 keys to 3 different people, all the 3 people can enter, right? But not anybody else. The same way, the security groups can be used to decide which traffic to be entered into your EC2 instance. You can decide what traffic and from where. Let us say even everybody, I think in the next coming days, you guys might get some ID card, right? What is the use of that? By using that ID card, you will only be able to attend the AWS classes, not any other classes. But you can enter the entire building, but you cannot enter into any other classes. They will validate your authenticity, like your authorization or your what we call that they will validate your authority, like which class you can attend. Based on that, they will only allow you to attend the classes. The same way the security group will work. The security group is a type of a firewall which can allow or deny the traffic, coming to your instance or going out to the instance. Like 2-way, incoming and outgoing. Generally, we don't care about the outgoing, which can allow or deny the traffic. Like we can say allow or deny the incoming and outgoing traffic. What is the meaning of outgoing traffic? So here I have a laptop, right? Like let us say if you are trying to log into my laptop over the network, that is the incoming traffic for my laptop. If I open the browser and if I type yahoo.com in the browser, that will be the outgoing traffic. If some request is going out from your EC2 instance, that is called as an outgoing traffic. Incoming traffic means if someone is trying to access your instance, that is an incoming traffic. By default, all incoming traffic will be blocked. By default, everything will be blocked unless you can write a rule to allow the traffic. You have to write a rule. We need to write a rule to allow the specific traffic. Or you can write a rule to allow all the traffic from anywhere also. That depends on the requirement. And by default, all the outgoing traffic will be allowed. Outgoing traffic will be allowed. That means if you log into the EC2 instance, from there you can access anything. There will be no restrictions. So these are the major things required to create the EC2 instance. And while we are creating the EC2 instances, we can see the small terminology also like monitoring, okay, or termination protection. They are not related to the functionality or the performance of your EC2 instance. Those are some optional terminology. Okay, right. So now what we do is, let us create a Windows EC2. Let us create an EC2 instance. Create an EC2 instance. So is that sufficient, or do we need any requirement, any inputs to create an EC2 instance? What all we need to select, or what all we have to select to create an EC2 instance? First thing is the region, right? In which region you would like to create your EC2 instance? I would like to create in Northern Virginia, or you can create in Mumbai, or you can create in California. That doesn't matter, but the process will be the same. And then operating system. you need to select the operating system. Because without operating system, there is no instance. I would like to go with Windows first, Windows Server, and I would like to for 2019 operating system. Before that, there is a 2016, and before that, there is a 2012 also. But I will go with 2019. And then you need to select the network. What is that network? You have to connect that particular EC2 instance into your network. Let us say you purchase one server for your office. What you do? You will place that in a server room and you will connect that particular server into the network, right? Then only your system will get the public IP address, private IP address, or whatever it is. But for now, don't worry about this network. We are not going to create any network because there is a separate concept called a VPC concept. In that, we are going to discuss about how to create the network and how to create the sub networks also. Okay, so here what we are going to do is we are going to use the default network. By default, in every region, you will get one network in your Amazon account. And then we have to select the subnet. What is the subnet? So this is a like 5-story building, right? In every floor, this is not like a kind of a single room. They divided entire floor into multiple rooms because each and every room they can use for specific use case. In the same way, that entire network will be divided into smaller networks. If you technically speaking, it has a lot of concept for the subnets, which is not required for us. That is for network administrators. In the VPC concept, we will discuss the importance of the subnet because there we have to create public subnets, private subnets. There are a lot of things, which is the important one. But for now, we can say that in every region, Amazon will create by default one network and they will create multiple subnets in every availability zone. For high availability, you have to maintain multiple networks, right? And in the Northern Virginia, how many subnets are, how many availability zones are there? 6 availability zones. So to maintain the high availability, what they do is they will create smaller networks in every availability zone. Okay, what is the region code of the Northern Virginia? US East 1, right? The availability zone is 1A, then 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, and 1F. These are the availability zones in Northern Virginia. In every availability zone, you will get one network, one subnet. So if I create my EC2 instance in this particular availability zone, that will be up and running. Suddenly, if there is something went wrong and in this 1A availability zone, there is a network issue or the entire availability zone is down. Then in the next couple of minutes, automatically your EC2 instance will be up and running from a different availability zone. That's why by default, you will get individual subnets across all the availability zones in your region. This availability zone concept is to maintain the high availability. What is availability zone actually? In the AWS global infrastructure, we discussed, right? What is the availability zone? Availability zone is the actual data center in which the physical resources are available. And in every region, there will be multiple isolated data centers available. Region contains multiple availability zones, right? And availability zone is the data center in which the physical resources are available. Whatever the instances you create, they will be physically available in one of these availability zones. In Mumbai, you cannot get the 6 availability zones because it has only 3. It has only 3. So you will get 3 subnets, each in one availability zone. Okay. Then we have to select instance type. Instance type. I'm going to select T2.micro because that is free tier eligible. That is free tier eligible. Not only T2.micro, in some regions, If there is no T2.micro is available, then T3.micro is free tier eligible. That I will give you a statement on that. And every server requires a storage also, right? So I will go with 30 GB storage, because up to 30 GB is a free tier eligible. Up to 30 GB is free tier eligible. And then what else we need? Key pair, right? I will create one key pair called N Virginia. Just you can use some name. That key pair will be used to create your password, to encrypt the password, and the same key pair can be used to decrypt the password and to see the password. And then we need a security group. So I will create a security group called Windows RDP. This is just a name. That is just a name. In that security group, we have to create some rule which will allow the remote login to your Windows computers, right? Okay. So Windows computers can be accessed over the network using the protocol called RDP protocol. Remote desktop protocol. What will be the port number? Any guess? Port number. For everything, there will be a port number, right? Okay. So let's take an example of websites. Websites are running on which protocol? HTTP and HTTPS, right? What is the port number of the HTTP? Port number of HTTP protocol? 80. What is the HTTPS protocol number? 443. Those are the default protocols, right? In the same way, almost for every what we call that major applications and major protocols, there will be some port numbers, default port number. RDP will run on 3389 protocol. But no need to remember. Over a period of time, you will be habituated to remember these protocol numbers. Hardly we have to remember like 6 to 7 port numbers: RDP, SSH, HTTP, HTTPS, MySQL. Hardly the most commonly used services, you have to remember the port number. So now we are going to create a rule to allow the 3389 traffic. From where? From where? I would like to allow from anywhere. Like I can log in from Hyderabad, or I can log in from Delhi. I can log in from anywhere across the globe if I know the username and password. If I don't know the username and password, nobody can log in, right? So I will show you how to create that rule. This is going to be the incoming rule for our security group. Based on this rule, the users can log into the EC2 instance. What else we have to do? What else we have to select? Anything we missed? Whatever we have discussed as of now? Any other topic? Like public IP, private IP, they will be automatically assigned. We are not responsible to assign that. And security group, key pair, elastic IP, last we can see. Okay. AMI. AMI is like operating system. Windows Server 2019 only. That means I don't need any additional softwares. I can say no softwares, a plain operating system. A plain operating system. I don't want any softwares. So now let us see how to create the first Windows EC2 instance. Once we are done with the Windows, then we can go for the Linux. Mostly today we cannot complete the Linux, just we can stop with the Windows. Okay. So to create the Windows EC2 instance, just log into your Amazon account. And in the search box, type EC2. You can take the advantage of the EC2 search box and click on EC2. What is the description for EC2? Virtual servers in the cloud. Wait, I will increase the font size, just a wait. Okay. So here, this is your EC2 dashboard. This is how your dashboard looks like. And on the left side, okay, first thing, what is the first requirement? Region is Northern Virginia. Make sure that you're in Northern Virginia. If you are not in Northern Virginia, change the region. Okay, right. Then on the left side, under the instances, click on instances. And you can see you do not have any instances in this region because we are creating the EC2 instance now. No instances available in my account as of now. Then click on the launch instances. Click on the launch instances. Okay. So if you don't get this particular page, try here, you will get opt in to the new experience. Don't use the old UI because the old UI will be, what we call that, will be removed in the next coming few months. So always try to use the new UI. How the old UI looks like is, I will show you. So this is how the old UI looks like. Don't use this. Don't use this one. If you get this kind of page, click on this one. Opt into the new experience. Because going forward, we have to use that new user interface. Okay, this is the page how it looks like once you click on the launch instance. So here, the name. I can say my first Windows server. You can give any name, that doesn't matter. That will be the just name of that EC2 instance, which you can see in the console. Then what is the next option? Application and OS images, right? So here it is showing you the most commonly used images here, AMIs. But here click on browse more AMIs. Browse more AMIs. And you can see there is a quick start AMI, community AMI, and marketplace. Marketplace is a kind of a paid AMIs. Almost you will get the paid AMIs, like which will comes with some pre-installed softwares like licensed software versions. Okay, which will cost you some amount on an hourly basis. Okay, so in the community AMIs, you will get all the AMIs from a community which are at free of cost. Okay, so what is our requirement? Windows Server 2019, right? So here I will type Windows in the search box and press enter. So it will show like almost like 19 AMIs which related to the Windows operating system. So what is the first one? Microsoft Windows Server 2019 base. If you select this AMI, you will get only the operating system. If you select the second one, what will happen? You will get the operating system along with the containers. What is that containers? Docker containers. That's a kind of an feature in the Windows. Or if you go for the third one, what you will get? You will get the Server 2019 operating system with Microsoft SQL Server pre-installed. If you have a requirement of the Microsoft SQL Server to be installed in the EC2 instance, directly you can select this AMI. So automatically the database software will be installed at the time of EC2 instance creation. But don't go with that. Just select with the base. If I select this one, I will get only the operating system. Click on select. Click on select. If you get this option, just click on confirm changes. What is this? Changing your AMI, because by default, Linux AMI will be selected. And we are changing from Linux to Windows. So according to that, in the backend, some settings will be changed. For that, they are asking about the confirmation. You can click on confirm changes. Okay. So here, what is the AMI? Windows Server 2019, and which is a free tier eligible. Then scroll down, and here you have to select the instance type. So from the drop down, you can select any kind of instance according to the requirement, like T1.micro, which is a very, very old version. T2.micro. And then if you scroll down, you can see T3.micro, T3.2x large, where you will get 8 CPU and 32 GB of RAM. And if you go for T3 dot medium, you will get 2 CPU and 4 GB of RAM. So here you have to remember that always the T2 dot micro is free tier eligible. By any chance, if you don't see the T2 dot micro instance, then T3 dot micro will be free tier eligible. In any region, if there is no T2 dot micro, then T3 dot micro will be free tier eligible. If T2 dot micro is existing, select the T2 dot micro. Then key pair. Okay, what you will get in the T2 dot micro? You will get 1 CPU and 1 GB of RAM. But you can see if it is a Windows, Amazon is going to charge you $0.0162 per hour. Are we charged with this amount? Yes, but when? Per month, you can use the EC2 instance up to 750 hours of T2 dot micro. If you use more than 750 hours, then you will be charged for the additional hours according to that particular price. Let us say if you create only one EC2 instance, and if you run that particular 24 hours and 30 days, you will be around like 720 hours. Always, it is recommended to terminate the EC2 instance once you are done with your practice. I'm not talking about the real time, especially for a practice account. Instead of utilizing all the 750 hours, once you are done with your practice, you have to terminate it. Let us say if I create at 7 p.m. today and I am done with the practical, and before closing the session, if I delete before 8 p.m., what will happen? From the 750 hours, 1 hour will be deducted and I will have 749 more hours. I can use that tomorrow. If I don't terminate from today 7 and from tomorrow 7 p.m., 24 hours will be deducted and I haven't used that EC2 instance, right? So unnecessarily, I am consuming all the free tier limits. Okay, let us say if I create 2 EC2 instances at 7 p.m. and if I delete both instances at 8 p.m., then what will happen? 2 hours will be deducted from that 750 hours. So I think you can understand the importance of the termination. Sometimes you might have to create like 3 servers or 4 servers for practice purpose, right? So if you are able to save the free tier hours like by deleting, once you are done with your practical, then you can create multiple instances at a time, so that we will not exceed the free tier usage limits. Okay, then the key pair. Key pair is used to decrypt the password of your Windows EC2 instance. And here I don't have any key pairs here. So what I have to do is click on create new key pair. Click on create new key pair and give some name. I will give Northern Virginia. And click on create key pair, and the key pair will be downloaded for only once. You cannot download for the next time. The key pair you can download only for once at the time of creation of the key pair. If I lost this key pair, I cannot get access to that instance. I cannot get the password. Okay, then just scroll down. Here is the network settings. So click on edit. This is the default network. We don't have any networks here. So select the default network and subnet. You can see there are multiple subnets across each and every availability zone. Let me show you by zooming in. One is in 1A availability zone, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1F, and 1E. So there will be a different subnets in each and every availability zone. I am going to select 1A availability zone. So the EC2 instance will be created in Northern Virginia region of 1A region. Sorry, 1A availability zone. And what is the auto assign public IP? By default, that will be enabled. That means once you create the EC2 instance, automatically you will get the public IP address on your EC2 instance. Then you have to select a security group. Firewall security groups. So what I do is I will give a name called Windows RDP. Just a name. And description also I will give as Windows RDP. What is the operating system we are installing? Windows. So for Windows, we can log in using the RDP, right? Automatically, Amazon will identify what operating system you are installing. Based on that, it will create that rule automatically. What is the rule 1? Type is RDP. Automatically, that will be selected. Just we have to go next. Protocol is TCP. Port range is 3389. What is the source type? Anywhere. That means I can log in from this location, or I can log in from my home, or I can log in from anywhere across the globe. And the source type, there are 3 different options. If I select custom, I can mention some custom IP address. Only from that IP address, the users can log in. Like I can give my office IP address, or I can give multiple IP addresses of my multiple offices. What if the third option? My IP means automatically it will capture my IP address. This building has some IP address, right? The internet. That IP address will be automatically selected, and only from this particular IP address, I can log into that particular EC2 instance. But for now, I will go with anywhere. So description, which is optional, you can use some description for that rule. Scroll down, configure storage. By default, Windows requires 30 GB of a storage. And here there is a type called GP2. Don't change that. Why? That we will discuss in the next concept called EBS. Because as per the free tier, you can see the 30 GB of general purpose or magnetic storage are free tier eligible. So GP2, GP3, there are almost like 7 types of storages available. If you select something else like IO1 or IO2, you will be charged very huge amount. So go with the GP2 only. And here you can see root volume, right? What is the root volume means? This is the drive, or this is the hard disk in which the operating system is getting installed. In whatever the operating system, whatever the volume or the storage, the operating system is getting installed, that is called as a root volume. And let us say if you need a D drive, E drive, then we can add additional volumes, and those are called as EBS volumes. And the default volume is called as a root volume, in which we are installing the operating system, that is called as a root volume. Okay, then scroll down, and how many instances you need? 1. Select that 1, and here you can review what all you have selected and click on launch instance. Click on launch instance. So our first EC2 instance is getting created. Let me click on view all instances. So just let me click on this refresh button. You can see our first Windows server is getting created. This is the name which I have given, right? And this is the ID of this EC2 instance, which is assigned by AWS. And this instance ID is the unique identification. And state is pending. Instance type is a T2.micro. And you can see it is created in US East 1A availability zone, right? Okay, select the EC2 instance. And if you scroll down here, you can see the information about your EC2 instance. So what is the public IP? This is the public IP address. And this is the private IP address. So to log into the Windows instance, what all we need is, the second thing is login to Windows EC2 instance. So here, first thing, we need to have an IP address. And the IP address must be public or private. Which IP address we need? Public IP address. Why can't we use a private IP address? Because me and the instance both are not in the same network. Whenever you're trying to communicate over the internet, you must use the public IP address. Public IP. Sorry. Let me copy paste. This is the public IP address. And what I do is I will note down the private IP also, even though we don't use it. And then what we need, username. Username is an administrator for all Windows servers, whether it's a 2019, 2016, 2012, that doesn't matter. By default, the username is the administrator. And then we need to get the password. And then to log into the Windows EC2 instance, we have to use remote desktop connection tool. We have to use a tool called RDP client, which is remote desktop connection, which is by default available in all your Windows computers. No need to install that. By default, you will get that. But before logging in, you must know the password of your Windows EC2 instance. So now let us see how to get the password. Let us see how to get the password. So to get the password, select your EC2 instance. Okay, let us say how to get into that particular EC2 instance. Let us say okay, so we'll do one thing. We will stop here, and tomorrow we can continue from the login. Like we will see, like we will check the details of the Windows EC2 instance, like what we have created, and we will note down the details like public IP, private IP, and all the things. And then we can see how to use that RDP client log into the Windows computer. Okay, right. Before closing the session, are you guys clear or any questions? Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask me, and if you are clear, you can leave. Okay, right. Thank you, everyone. We'll continue tomorrow. Sorry. It's recommended to delete. Select the easy feature. Go to actions. So you will get terminate option. Click on terminate your easy feature. How to delete in the sense, like this is your EC2 instance, right? So select this EC2 instance, click on instance state, and click on terminate instance. Shutdown, they don't calculate the time, but the storage will be calculated. So 30 GB is the maximum, right? So if I keep 30 GB without using, the 30 GB will be consumed. That's why terminate is the best one. Storage 30 GB limit. Running create చేస్తే అక్కడ ప్రాబ్లం. రేపు రెండు చేయాలి కదా, మీరు ఫస్ట్ డేనే మొత్తం 30 GB వాడేస్తారు. సో మీరు 1 hour వాడారనుకోండి, వాళ్ళు ఎలా టైం ఇస్తారు? 24/30 అంటే 1 GB కూడా మీరు వాడరు. 30 GB ఉందనుకోండి, బట్ 1 GB. Post. Yes, after logging in, yes, I mean, like, yes, public IP, public DNS name is nothing but your IP address commonly, like Amazon address. They will prefix with your public IP. Yeah, public IP. Yes, you can. Practice it, just only creation. I haven't showed the log, right? Yeah. Can you see like how to create? Yes, you can. Password changes. Password changes. Let me check password. Password policy. That match up to that. Password policy check. I have dashboard. Password policy for okay, if I create easy, so that's 7-8, so 7-8, and if I delete before 8, you only calculate as a 1 hour. So we have a 750 hours of media use. 750 hours, 750 media hours. You can use your easy. If you don't believe, but tomorrow what will happen? 24 hours will be just that. You delete hours that only use only 1 hour. You have 4 hours to that. That's why always mistake about it. Please just SRW. I place for double. అందులోనే లింక్ ఉంటుంది, పంపిస్తారు, దాన్ని యాడ్ చేస్తారు. యాడ్ చేస్తారు. the instance. Instance state. Instance state. Check. The problem is the YouTube won't get complete. At least we get some basic idea now. Basic idea so that you can understand. Okay, guys. Anybody else having any questions? Wait, I got a lot of questions. Let me go through the things. Actually, whoever joined through online, you have to wait like 5 to 10 minutes after the class so that I can take all your questions. Yeah, I will. Yeah. Whoever is having the questions, you can raise your hand so I can unmute you guys, or you can use the chat box also. I didn't. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Prakar, you can.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So, like we have seen the EC2 instance service in AWS. Like, what is the real use of this? Because each and every developer is having their own machine. They have their Windows.
Okay.
Like, so
they develop some application. They develop some application, right?
Yeah.
Let us say they develop the code and they test the code. They use their own machine, but somewhere it has to be running, right, for the production purpose.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So that's where this cloud come into the picture.
Okay. So, like for the staging and production environment,
everything, staging, production, sometimes UAT also. Nowadays everybody is using the cloud only. Only the developers will have their own laptops, right?
Yes.
It is only for development process. Testing, they cannot done on the small laptops or something.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. This is Nafiz.
Yep.
So there was only one thing I missed the class Saturday and Monday. Yesterday also I joined lately. So could you share the video for this?
Actually, I'm not the person who shared the video. Like, 1 second. Who is your admin? Sanjay or
Suresh, I guess.
Suresh? Yes. You can contact Suresh. Like, just send him a message. If you don't lift the call, just send him a message. Your name, your batch, like timing, and your faculty name, and mention the dates what you missed, so that they can share the video.
Okay. So one thing, can I have your number, sir?
Yeah, you can like have you provided your email address and everything?
Yes, I provided already.
Okay, then just I will add you to the Telegram group. There you can directly communicate with me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. If you have any questions, directly you can ask in the group, or directly you can send me a message in the Telegram also. No issues with that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right. Any other questions, guys? Anybody else? Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. Let's continue tomorrow.